Hi, Jeff Rhodes here again with another video on Microsoft 365, and we're going to talk about Power Automate today. And hopefully you've subscribed to this channel, and I love comments and requests for things. So here's a video I did about a year ago about sending emails in Power Automate. And I recently got a comment from Roxquan here. It says, can you help make a tutorial based on a date column in Excel to give a reminder emails for those agreements or contract due in 90 days. So I thought that sounded kind of fun. And since I normally put the Excel files in SharePoint, I thought I'd put them in OneDrive just to show you can do that as well. So here's my OneDrive. I've got a videos directory, and I created this Excel file, so I'll show it to you just to give us something to work with and to make it a little more interesting. Instead of just 90 days, I decided to do 90, 60, 30, and 7. And so the idea of just got a first name and a last name and email. And notice that's not unique because I only have 3 email addresses. So I'm just kind of reusing those, a contract name and then a contract due date. Now I did a little formula here to do today, and then you can see when I was testing this, I had different dates. So I'm going to put these to be exactly, that's 90 days out. This is, 60 days out if I go 3. And 4 there is 30 days out. And 11 is 7 days out. And then what we want to do is test, because we also want to make sure we don't get emails when we shouldn't. So this James McMurtry, since it's 12:15, should not. Oh, and that first one didn't take, so potential error there. That should be 12:3. Let's make sure the rest of them did. 12:3, 11:3, 10. Oh, it should be 10:4. Not sure. When my editing's not going very well. 10:4, 9:11. There we go. And then I shouldn't get one for James McMurtry. Notice I have an ID column. It is important when we write back to Excel that we have a primary key or unique thing so we can find the right row. And I can't really use email here. I could use like last name, but didn't love that. Same with contract name. I can see it being a renewal and having the same name. So I just put an ID there. But just make sure you have that. And then what I did is just to make it interesting and also to just check it over is I'm going to write the date back when we sent it. And so it should have the last time, and we can just check this spreadsheet periodically if we want to just make sure those went out correctly. So that's what the Excel file looks like. Let's jump in to Power Automate. This is a good use of a scheduled flow, because really if we're going to do this right, we're going to need to do it every single day. So I'm just going to say video contract reminders. It doesn't really matter what time we run it, except that's what time the email will go out. So maybe you want to go it in a work day, but I'll say every day, every single day. There we go, like that. And then what we do, as you've seen my other videos, you'll see we have to do a fair number of variables. So we'll just get started on that. I'm going to initialize a bunch of variables. And first one we need is far current date. And we have to really watch here. You'll see later that I'm going to do a date difference function. But the thing to know is we have what we call UTC now, but it's got the time on it as well. But I can get around that if I format this with just the date parts, because I need this. I don't want it like for 90 days. I want it to be 89.7 or whatever because of the day, different day times of the day and stuff. And so it's important that I just have it being exactly 90. And to do that, I just don't want any time, which will default it to basically midnight. And so what I want to do here is I want to do format date times. We've used that many times. I want to do, whoops, UTC now, and then I want to format it. And it doesn't really matter exactly how I format as long as it's the same, but I'm just going to do these as month, and this matches how I have it in Excel. DD for 2 days. Notice you don't want to do lowercase m because that's minutes instead of months, and then 4-digit year like that. So that'll get us started. And then what we want to do is, whoops, we're going to do a contract due date as well. And that's going to be in our Excel file. So we're just going to put that as string, but we're not going to put anything in it. Oops. And I need to say var. And as you've seen in my other videos, I like to take the time to do that because it makes our flow a whole lot easier to read. And we don't have to click on each variable to look at the name of it and stuff. So what we want now, this is kind of a long name, but it's var days between due date and current date. Kind of like that thing. I better copy that thing so I don't have to type all that again. We'll put it up here. And that's going to be a string for now. Okay, and we're going to get to that. And we're going to actually pause this and we'll go and see what that string is, because trying to get the number out of the string is not trivial. So we're going to, so that we can check that, and also so that we can format it as an integer, which we want, we're going to do another one. We're going to say var days between integer. So we know which one we're going to use there. And again, we can't set this yet, but it is going to be an integer. And almost done with our variables. We're going to come in and do var notification text. And what we're going to do there is just have it a string. We're just going to say what we're going to, what we're going to do with it. All right, we can copy that over up here. All right, so let's get into Excel now. And I've done my favorites here, Excel Online. And what we're going to do is list rows present in a table. So this is how we're going to go get to that OneDrive. So I'm going to click OneDrive for Business. And then I have to say OneDrive again here. And then I have to find that folder. Remember, it was in the video folder. There we go. And there's that video contract due date. I didn't mention where we're on Excel, but you have to make that into a table. You saw that formatted. I've got one I named contract table. So hopefully that'll pop up there. And I don't, in this case, need anything special except that I have to, this can bite you. I need to show them, whoops, show it here, and that date can be problematic. So I got to say the date time format, just say ISO 8601. It just tells Excel to read that as a date and not as a number. Otherwise, that will not go well. Okay, so now I've got to loop. So I come over to Control, Apply to each, and I can say loop through rows. I'll say contracts. That. And what I picked, about the only thing I have a choice is that body there. All right, so what do I want to do now? Well, I want to set some of these variables. So I'm going to set the first variable is contract due date. So again, I'll set, remember that from when I did a sample. And what I want to do is I'm just going to grab that right out of Excel. Notice I don't see everything, so I have to click this See More. And then I get the contract due date like that. And then I'm going to go in and do this. Set the var days between. Let's see if it'll remember that. Yeah, there we go. Now this one's non-trivial here because I need to use this date difference function, and I want it to be positive. And since that's dates in the future, we got to do it in the right order. So first I say date difference like that, and then it tells me what I need. A string, it contains the start time. So I'm going to go to dynamic content and get var current date like that. And then the second one is going to be the contract due date. It's not obvious which one to use, so just check it if it's a negative number, and you got to switch the order. Okay? And I'm going to say add here. And then what I want to do is let's go ahead and just run it here so we can see what that looks like. That'll help our debugging skills, and also it will show us what we need to do to get from this string to get to a number. All right, so it's ready to test. I'll say manual test and run flow. So I'll just make sure everything's working too. So there we go. So we could go through each one, but let's just check the first one. And we need to go to raw outputs and look for it. So let me zoom in screen, just make sure we can see that really well. So this is the key. So it's coming through as a string, 90.0 colon 0 0 colon 0. Okay, so what we want to do is there's only one period here. And first is we wanted to check to make sure that says 90. And the reason that worked is because neither one of them had a time component. Remember, we took the UTC now and did it as just the month, the day, and the year. So that makes it 00, which is 12 midnight. And that's how the one from Excel came through. So both those came through basically without any time. So we got exactly what we want, 90. And I need to do a split. And so the split will give us an array with 90 in the first element and then 0, all these zeros with the colons in the second one. So then I need to get the first element starting with 0. So you'll see I'll put the 0, and then I need to convert that to an integer. So let's see if we can do all that. So the rest of that seems to be working. Notice I had 5 rows and it went through and got that. So I don't need to check the other ones right now. I'll go back to edit. And so we need set another one. And this will be the var days between integer. So let's set that one. Again, a lot of expressions in this one today. So let's work from the inside. So I'm going to do split. And I can grab that variable. And then the second parameter is what we want to split on. So I'll put it in single quotes and then a period like that for the dot. Okay, so that'll give us the array. And then to get the first element, I need a question mark, square brackets, 0, like that. And that will give us the 90, but it's still a string. So we got to go back to the beginning and say int to convert it to an integer, and then put our parentheses on it like that. All right, so unless I made some typos there, that will take care of the integer, of making this a number. And so now we can do something we don't do all that often. So I got a bit of a sore throat here, but we can do a switch, because we can do a switch or conditions on one value. And so we can use that days between integers. Because remember, there's cases we need 90, 60, 30, and 7. So we can scroll down here. So the default, we're not going to do anything. So I'll just do 90 like this. And it's easier if we come in and we just say case 90 like that. Okay, and what do we want to do? Well, there's two things. We want to use that var notification text. So we're going to set that var notification text like that. And we'll just say set var. And we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. But we're going to copy this. So we're going to say the contract, and I'll say single quotes, and I'm going to grab contract name, like that, is due in 90 days. So we'll have to edit that each time. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to format and we already grabbed the contract due date, so we can grab that as well. Mainly I'm formatting it so that I make sure it looks good, so it doesn't have any kind of weird format. So I'm going to do like that, and I'm going to put it in that same format we want. DD YYYY, like that. Then I can put a period at the end. Now let's go ahead and do those each one, and then I'll come back to the other. We're going to actually write to Excel as well, but since I'm going to be copying these, be a little more, a little easier if I just copy them and keep them in the clipboard. So let's go case 60, and 60 here, and I can right click and say paste. And this will be notification text 2, and all we have to do is change this to 60 like that. And we'll do it again. Oh wait, notification 30. This is 30. Paste in action. And we'll change that to 30. And we got one more, so we got to move this over. Oops, where'd my, oh, there we go. Well, scrolled over, there we go. Case 7 equals 7. Again, paste in action. This paste in action saves a lot of time. We didn't used to have that. 7 days like that, there we go. All right, let's go back to the first one. And second thing we want to do is we want to write our date to Excel. So we come back to Excel, and we're going to update a row. So we got to do that whole business. But again, we're going to copy this once. We're going to go OneDrive. We're going to go OneDrive again. Pick the video. Video due date. Pick the table. So a little bit repetitive, but. And then we need to know which column to do, and that's where that ID comes through, because we got to basically doing a query to find it. So what's the value? Well, we can choose the value from the Excel row we're on. So we just pick the ID that we're on. And then we need to update what we want to show. Since this is the 90-day date, we want to just put that in there. And again, we're going to go ahead and do the format to make sure it looks good and doesn't have a time component. So we're going to say format date time, UTC now, and we're going to do that month, day, year, like that, into the 90-day day. So we need to copy this, and then we're going to just change the column of each one. So we're going to copy action, paste, and all we got to do is cut this and put it on the 60 line. That. Now what we need to do is copy this again because it takes it out of the clipboard. Since we're copying and paste that, so we'll paste it again. Copy this, cut it, put on the 30-day line. And I'll just copy this one. I guess since I did a different one, it kind of changed the naming, so I'll just put it so it matches to 3, and we'll cut this and put it on 7-day line. There we go. And then again, we don't do anything in the default. So if it's none of those, which you kind of zoom it over, it basically does nothing. All right, so what we got to do is outside this, but in, so let's collapse the switch for a minute. So we're coming down here. So outside the switch, but still inside the loop, we want to go ahead and send the email. So we're going to do a conditions. And so we're going to check that notification text. So we'll say if var notification text is not equal to blank, means that it has a value, then we're going to go ahead and send an email. So we'll do Outlook here. I didn't set that in favor yet, so I'll just grab it. And we want to send an email. And we've got what we want. So first notice we have to say use dynamic content here. And then we got to go to Excel, grab the email. Subject will be notification of upcoming due date for contract. We'll go ahead and grab that contract name. And it's there this time, which is, oh, actually, let me make sure I got that from the right spot because I did that kind of quickly. Yeah, I don't want to update the row. I need to go all the way. And actually, the email, I got to go make sure I got that out of the right spot. We need to get the ones from the list name. It probably doesn't really matter, but that's conceptually is the right one we need. So let me get rid of this guy, make sure it's the right one. Yeah, because if you're not careful, you just take the first one that looks like Excel. So I need to get it from the rows, and that'll be the email there. Okay, and this has a single quote at the end. And we can say, dear, might as well use the first name and last name that we already had in there. Then I can put in the notification text like that. All right, so that's all good, but we need to make sure now we got to clear it so that it doesn't just, if the next one doesn't have it, but the VAR notification text is still there, we're going to send an email to the next person with the wrong information. So it's not actually trivial on how to clear a variable, but I looked up online, so this does work. So we want to say set VAR notification text, and I'm just going to say clear VAR notification text. And what you have to do, and there may be other ways to do it as well, but this does work. You have to say string and then put null in there. What doesn't work is if you say quote, quote there, because then it thinks the string is quote, quote, and it doesn't work right. So that does it there. All right, well, let's try it. So let's go ahead and save. And again, what we're expecting to do while that's saving is we're expect to get 4 emails between my different ones, Sammy, Paul, Sean, and Bob. And we don't expect to get an email on James there because it wasn't right. So let's try it. And again, we'll test it, but then we can run this every day and the scheduled, and it should, the minute that it gets to 90, 60, 30, and 7. Now it says it ran successfully, and we can actually tell if I can scroll this down a little bit. Oh, actually kind of zoomed in here. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. There we go. So let's see. So I sent the email on the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, and not the 5th one. So it looks promising. Let me go check my email on my other machine there. I'm going to send all because I've got to get it out of Gmail and everything else. Whoops, it's coming over here. Yep, I got 4 emails. I'll see if I can show them on here. Let's make it a little smaller. So there's one. Sean Mullins is 30 days out. Paul McCartney, 60 days out. Bob Seeger, 7 days. Sammy Hager, 90 days. Okay, so that should be good. Let's see if it wrote the dates in there for us. Yes, so 90, put that in the right one for each thing. So we can go there and just visually say, hey, okay, those went out at the right time for sending them out. So hope this was helpful. Send some comments if you have any questions or if you have a request for something that you want me to program. Fun to do that, and be sure to subscribe. And if you need any consulting or training help, just hit me up on my emails. You saw plenty of emails for me in this video. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.